So, hello, and today we have a very special guest here from US, not from Estonia, but from US. And for starters, I will say what actually Herbazen is, because not many people know it yet. Herbazen is a symbiosis from herbal therapy and yoga. And this talk show basically brings all the yoga teachers I have managed to reach out to closer to everybody. So today, within these 40 minutes, we will try to see who is today's guest and which kind of myths and yoga influences he has had in his life. So if you are listening and you have some questions, feel free to write them in the comments, because we are live on Facebook, so it's easy to communicate, and I will try to ask these questions as well. So Tim.
Yes.
Should I say your longer name? How you prefer?
Tim is fine.
Good. So briefly, you can introduce yourself, and a bit more deeply, you can maybe explain how and why you reached to yoga.
Okay. Well, all right. So my name is Timothy Greathouse, and I started my journey back in 1989 at Purdue University. I'm actually what my angle on yoga is through the martial arts. So I was a martial artist first, and then I found yoga about 12 years in. So I started in '89 at Purdue University as a Taekwondo practitioner. And I then transferred to Illinois and found an awesome teacher in Central Illinois at the University of Illinois. And I got my black belt with him, and I went through an awesome instructor training program in which he taught martial arts as a personal way of life, not as a fighting art form. And so I was raised from the beginning teaching the martial arts in kind of a healing way, in a way that applies to your daily life, and always trying to think about that transference from the training room to my personal life, and the benefits that we have in there, and having a path and having an application in life. And then I moved out to Eugene in '95 and started my first school. And I was there 3 years. And then I came over here to this new location in '99, and I met a fantastic yoga instructor, and his name was John Perry. And he ended up teaching right here in my studio. And I used to live here. And then I had another yoga instructor come in, and his name is Glenn Tippin, fantastic yoga instructor. And so I had the unique and amazing experience of having these very well-known and very professional yoga instructors coming to my house and teaching in my studio. So all I had to do was get out of bed and go right in and take class. And so I started taking every day of the week. So I had Monday, Wednesday, Friday mornings, and then Tuesday, Thursdays, I would take class twice a day, Glenn and then John at night. So I just dove in. And at 32 years old, after doing a lifetime of working out, soccer, and martial arts, I started to see already at 32 how tight I was getting, how difficult it was to stretch. I was already getting injuries. My muscles were already getting tight and hard. And there were other issues in the 30s. Those are some hard years for people. So the yoga was the flow, and the way that I recovered myself, was able to keep doing martial arts. And I loved it so much, and I took it so much, that I decided to go ahead and become a teacher and lead my own classes in 2007. And so I've been doing it ever since 2007, teaching right here in my own studio.
But do you have a special kind of yoga then, or which kind of style do you prefer?
It's mostly, I like to think of it being a Westerner. I like to, and also a martial artist. I like to call it, of course it's yoga, breathing and stretching, right? It's based on Hatha yoga and also Kundalini yoga, and also bits of the Vinyasa flow is what I use. So I kind of mix those up together, really work the breathing, really work the stretching and the counter posing, so the strength and the stretch, and then add the sun salutations of various kinds and the low vinyasas and high vinyasas, and finish by standing up and doing some things standing, and then come back for a landing, and then finish up down there. So Hatha, Kundalini, and Vinyasa is what I focus on.
But based on what you see, do you see more women in classes or more men? How does it look like?
We see in my class, it's usually more women. And in my mentors' classes, in John Perry's class and in Glenn Tippin's class, I guess there was always more women, but there was a large contingent of men too in those classes, which was really impressive. And the John Perry's class was a heavily strength-based class, and so the guys loved it. It was kind of like the precursor to Broga, you know, that's the way John's class was. So lots of balances, lots of strength holds, lots of chest and shoulder strengthening. And then Glenn's class was more vinyasa, so I kind of mixed the two together for my own style. So.
But when you were little, did you already know that you will be involved with martial arts, or did you have any other ideas that when you grow up you want to be for sure something?
Yes. So when I was young, I gotta say I always had very expansive thoughts about my future. I knew I wanted to do good things in this life. And my father was in the Navy, so he was an officer in the Navy. And so when I was figuring out what I wanted to do, I went that direction first. And so I became an officer in the Navy and had my, went through college, got my degree. And I wanted to be a pilot, maybe even an astronaut. But, and I was on the pathway to do that. But it turned out my eyes weren't good enough. And also, the military had a large downsizing back in the time that it was my time to be looking at that. So there was no funding to go that direction. So I got out of the Navy and became a martial artist.
That's an interesting way to go.
I know.
But how has martial arts and yoga together influenced you on daily basis?
Well, I would say it's probably the most influential thing in my life. Um, the yoga and the martial arts is my purpose. It is what I do. And the yoga allows me to still do martial arts. So yoga is the key to everything that I do. And it really should be the key to what most people do, because breathing, taking in the elements, breathing, oxygenating your body, getting warm, red, oxygenated blood flowing through the body, warming up those muscles, getting oxygenated blood flowing to the brain, connecting the mind and body, stretching, getting those joints warmed up and stretched and feeling good, and getting the body heat up. This is an essential element that everybody should be doing every week, at least 3-4 times a week, I think every day. And especially as a martial artist, the yoga has allowed me to make it through the tough days. It's allowed me to keep my body here. I'm 50 years old. I'm kicking higher now, and I'm kicking stronger than I was when I was 25. And it's because of yoga, the reason why I can do that. The profound impacts of the breathing, of the stretching, of the strengthening, of the warming of the body, of the getting all systems go is what I like to call it, is profound, and it's something people really should discover. And I think I'm doing my part to help bring it to the people. So.
Wow, you said 50. I'm surprised.
I know, I'm 50.
Thought that. So yoga is good.
Yes.
But on your journey, what different fun stories you maybe have in your classes that you might have never thought that could happen, but still
Hmm.
turned out to be really kind of fun?
Well, okay, I have a couple angles on that. One, I've learned am naturally a very introverted person. Okay, so actually, this time that we're going through right now with the lockdown and no students being here and doing all the video conferencing, this works very well for me. Okay, it's just talking to a camera instead of a whole room full of people. But that being said, um, my first teaching my first teaching opportunity I had back when I was 24 years old was a room full 130 people. It's what I had in my room of white belts, and then 80 assistants or intermediate belts after that. So I've always kind of put myself in the position of facing my introversion and being in front of people, and it hasn't been very easy. Um, but so as far as the first interesting experience, I had an old injury from soccer a long time ago, and it was in my knee. And I was learning a new kick, and I ended up flipping and landing on my knee probably 200 times. And I actually knocked it out of place. Okay. And I didn't know what was going on. I thought it was like a ligament problem. And my knee felt really loose. It felt like it wasn't really in connected anymore. And I went on for 2.5 weeks like that, thinking, do I need surgery? What do I need? I went into Baddha Konasana, the bound angle, in class after some warm-ups, and I just leaned into it, and my knee rolled right back into place. Okay, it went back in place. That was a profound experience that I had in class. And what I've realized through yoga is that I have the ability through touch and through movement and through breathing and relaxing and working through these positions to actually actively heal my body. And I can work through things in half the time I need to work through them. I still get injuries, but I know how to get in there and I know how to fix them. And also the breathing and the heat and all of the elements that we take in yoga set your body up for very fast, very quick healing. So I think that's a profound experience that I learned through teaching. I've had lots of fun experiences too. I like to have a sense of humor while leading class. I like to, keep it light. Tell jokes. I think one time we were talking about a tough pose. Do you know what an ambulance is?
Mhm.
An ambulance, yeah, it's a hospital
Yeah.
car. Okay, so one person was having a rough time, and we were going to call in the ambulance. Okay, so ambulance. It was funny, right? And then we were starting to think, okay, well, how do you fix the ambulance? Well, you take it to the body shop. Okay, and you get it the alignment worked on, right? So anyway, that's just the next sort of funny things that we talk about in class. But I really like to have fun in class. I like to be very real. I like to connect with people, and I think most importantly, as an American instructor or a Western instructor, I think it's important for each one of us to substantively pull from the art forms that we teach, substantively pull the elements that work with the society that we live in, that make sense to us, and bring that to our people in a way that allows them to get into it and start understanding it, right? And I think that's one of the most important lessons I've learned as an instructor is we don't need to transfer the whole culture of, say, India or Korea or Japan. We don't need to transfer the whole culture over here. We need to bring from it the pieces that we can use and put that together, and then fill in the blanks with our culture and really learn how to integrate that art form into our society And the way I do it here will be different than the way you do it there in Estonia. And it's going to be different the way someone in Britain does it and someone, you know, in China. You know, it's going to be different in every place. And I think that's one of the biggest epiphanies that we're all having as instructors right now, being first and second generation, bringing this to the West, is we're learning how to do that. We're learning how to substantively do it so it makes sense to the people that we're teaching.
Since you're mentioning making sense,
Mhm.
do you have any kind of moments where people actually don't know what yoga is and they have like false beliefs? Which
Mhm.
ones are like the biggest ones that you have had?
Well, some people have gotten mixed messages about the practice of yoga and then also the spiritual side. And it makes sense because the martial arts, the yoga, this realm of study has a direct connection to your own personal spiritual experience, okay? Because it brings your mind and body together, and it makes you available to develop your spiritual side, okay? Some yoga instructors like to bring in those pieces, the chanting, oming, and the different elements, Kapalabhati, breathing, that bring in that mystical experience, okay? The skull shining, right? The Kabbalah, that mystical experience that's so important. Um, some people get that mixed up and get it confused with their religion for some reason, okay? So we have to be very careful in the Western world how we introduce these things. And I like to be very upfront, and I like to be very science-based and fact-based about and experiential-based about what we bring to class, so we don't have that problem. And that this is just a physical and mental experience, and people can launch forward with that if they want, or they can just come in and stretch and breathe if they want. But they're going to see, from me in my personal life, they're going to see a more spiritual involvement in the martial arts and yoga, because that's how I choose to move forward with it. I need that full picture, right? Other people, it's important, need to be able to be led to the point where they can seek out that path themselves. What people don't need is everything handed on a platter to them. This is how you have to do it. There's no other way. They don't want that. So they need to find that themselves. Their spiritual search needs to be an active, personal journey. We as instructors give them the tools to start that journey, and we can also help them path find along the way. But it's got to be their journey. So.
That is really nicely said. But do you have at this point any teachers or mentors that you really look up to, and maybe somebody could benefit from their names or social media accounts?
Well, sure. I currently now I am the executive vice president for the United States Taekwondo Committee, and I'm also the Oregon State president for the United States Taekwondo Committee. And this committee is chaired by Supreme Grandmaster Sang Lee, who is a very famous, world-renowned martial artist, and a very well-respected guy. His name is Sang Lee, so Sanglee. And the organization that we're a part of is called the USTC, or the United States Taekwondo Committee. And the reason why I'm saying this is because what we're doing is really profound in the martial art world. And I can show you a flyer here. We've initiated a series of tournaments, non-fighting, art-based, skills-based tournaments worldwide, but mostly it has the world level in Korea that's been going on since '92. The US level of it's been going on since 2007. They're all over the world: Belgium, Greece, Pan Am's, the Asian, and the tournament is called the Hanmadong Tournament, a Hanmadong. And I put the one on for the Pacific Northwest in Oregon. And what's so amazing about this is that it's an all styles, not just one style, all styles, so totally inclusive, martial arts skills, tournament, and expo. And this is a massively new and exciting paradigm for the martial art world. And it's being headed up by Sang Lee. And I respect him greatly. And I think people should connect with him and see what we're up to in the United States Taekwondo Committee for sure. I have so many other leaders in my life, but I would say this is the main point that we're working on right now. That's exciting to look into. It's called the Hanmadang series of tournaments. The World Hanmadang happens in Korea, and we've been there. I've actually competed there twice, and we were supposed to go again this year, but because of what's going on, we can't go. But again, the key phrase is we're changing the paradigm for the future of martial arts away from the combative fighting sport and into the personally applicable art form, and really sending the message that the martial arts can be a path or a application that has meaning in your personal life, not just in your training area, but applying to your everyday life. And this type of an event that he created, that really assists in that process.
But is there a lot of people who actually are already ready to join? Or is there still some people who don't really understand why it's non-violent and more like, how to say, spiritual way, not like and muscular way?
Yeah, I think we're reaching a point where people actually are. They are looking for something a little bit more and a little bit a deeper experience with their martial arts. And there really is, they don't even come close. Okay. So, the fighting style, when you're in a place of all you can think about is how to destroy somebody else or how to win over somebody else, think about the impact it has on your personality, right? And think about the impact it has on your outlook in life. And over time, it becomes very dissatisfying, right? It doesn't feel like a very deep experience. And you always hear that the martial arts has this profound experience that you can find within it. But what's been brought to the Western world is MMA and UFC and old style sparring. And so what we're doing is we are turning that little pond lake into a deep ocean of understanding, and really driving home the message that the martial arts is so much more than a fighting art form. Sure, it has the self-defense aspect, and that is an important draw for people to stay interested. It's an important motivation. Every single thing I do in there has a self-defense application, and that's important. It makes you feel good. It makes you feel confident and makes you feel safe. But the lessons that we learn in our little microcosm inside our training center, we can think of it as a microcosm of the world, right? And we test our fortitude. We test our ability to never give up. We test our discipline. We test our consistency. We test our heart. We test our spirit. And we learn those lessons. We get the glory from those lessons. And then we retain that feeling. And then we go out into our world and we see if we can start doing it the same way. Can I bring these experiences out there? How do I deal with disappointment in my training area? Do I just throw it away and leave the room, stomp out and quit? Or do I try a different angle? Do I try it again? Do I keep my spirit up? Do I have positive self-talking? Do I believe in myself? Do I visualize? Do I, feel? Do I picture feelings, and all those things? And those lessons can transfer into your daily life. As a yoga instructor, if you have even 2 years of experience, it makes you feel good. You feel confident, and it raises your expectations, right? It's all these lessons that I try to bring into our training.
Sounds really good. So after this interview, I will check out your class for sure.
Oh, good, good.
But going a bit further away from yoga, how does your mornings and evenings look like? Do you have some kind of rituals that you do, or how do they look?
I do. Well, it all revolves around teaching classes. So being in a physical nature, and training a lot, I do retain two days a week where I get to sleep in. And it's important to do that. But I have a very reliable routine, and I teach under normal circumstances. I teach 3 to 5 classes a day, and I always take my nap at 1:30 in the afternoon. I sleep for 45 minutes. And I am going to go ahead and assert that that's important, and people should leave time for that. Just that reboot, and to go to sleep after lunch and to wake up and get it all going again has been a really important thing for me, and it's just the way my mind works. So that's an important routine. I do get off classes late, and so I usually fix dinner pretty late. And then I like to spend a little personal time watching movies, or just total downtime for at least 2 hours every night. And then usually end the day by about 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning, and then go right to sleep, just gone. I don't usually have trouble sleeping, and if I ever do have trouble sleeping, then I see that as an important moment. And so I go ahead and open my eyes, and I let myself think through whatever I have to think through until I'm done, and then I just go to sleep. So.
But what about the situation now that's going on in the world?
Uh-huh.
How would you recommend things to do at home? Let's say if people are anxious or they are getting tired because this is going on so long, what
Mm-hmm.
do you suggest to calm them down? Or
Okay, well, this as a martial artist, it's important to see a way to engage any situation and see the benefits of it, and see the plus sides of it, the positives of it. So in this unique situation that we're all in, I think people, number one, need to get ready for it to be a little longer than they think. Okay, this is this is a pandemic, and it goes by its own time frame. What we want doesn't matter; it's going to have its own path. And I encourage people to embrace this, to slow down, to breathe, to use this extra time to do exactly what we're doing here, to connect with a teacher. So many people don't have a teacher. They don't have a mentor. They don't have that element in their life. And if they do, it may be a religious leader, but it's not somebody who takes into the whole picture, into their world. And far too often in the Western world, the body gets left behind. So I think this is a perfect opportunity to break a routine and maybe start some new ones. We have the social media. We have the ability for the instructors to get right into people's homes, and they can practice, even if they feel funny, going to a studio and being a beginner with other people who know what they're doing. This is their chance. They can be at home right now by themselves, private, practicing breathing, doing those push-ups that they can't do, that they can get better at. Using this time to explore the basics of yoga or breathing and stretching or martial arts, something. Get a qualified teacher into their life, and start engaging a more whole experience with life. We're seeing what happens when people forget about the body. Okay, this virus that's going around, most people are dying because of problems they already had, right? they're have diabetes, or they're overweight, or they have congestive heart failure, or they have other comorbidities, they're called, right? And that's what's taking people's lives. You know, the COVID's just kind of pushing them over the top. Let's learn from that. Let's get ourselves, let's breathe. Let's get the weight down. Let's focus a little bit more on a more whole approach to our lives at a time where we have the time to do it. I think it's the perfect time right now. And we can, all they have to do is press click, click, and the instructor's right there. And I highly encourage people to do that, because without the body and the mind together, if you leave your body behind, it doesn't matter how much money you have. It doesn't matter how important you are. It doesn't matter who you're connected with. It doesn't matter. If your body isn't capable of sustaining you, nothing else matters. You're not going to be happy. Your health is your wealth. Your health is your wealth. And people need to get back to understanding that and to nurture it. I like to use this visualization since I wanted to be an astronaut. Imagine that you are in outer space and you're on the space station, okay? And you're about to step outside for a spacewalk, okay? What do? You go to your spacesuit and you check every seam, every zipper, every O-ring, every connection, all the seals, right? You probably spend a nice long time looking over that suit before you put it on and go out into space. Well, I got news for you. You're in outer space, and this is your spacesuit, and you need to inspect it every day, and you need to check in with it, and you need to develop this kind of this internal way of awareness, and really get the body to perform at a higher level. And once a person does that, they usually never go back, which is kind of the way that mystical path is. Once you decide to make a change and you get on the path, you can't ever really get off it, right? When you start seeing things a different way, when you start seeing how important breathing is, when you start seeing how important raising the body heat is, and you start seeing how important being a whole, experiencing life more holistically, then you never really get off the path. And that's the great thing about it. As instructors, what we're doing is we're trying to help people get on that path. And we need to do it in ways that are very welcoming for them. And then they can start their own journey from there. I was raised in a very disciplined environment, okay? I had some of the toughest, most unyielding teachers and instructors my whole life, okay? So I reacted very well to it. I loved the challenges. I always wanted to make my coaches and instructors, I wanted to make them happy, and I wanted to perform well for them. It made me feel good. But it's interesting now, me as a teacher, I'm not the same way. I'm much more welcoming, and I'm much more understanding, and I'm much more keyed in on, instead of finding only the people who are naturally good at it, I want to find the people who don't think that they're naturally good at it, and we could start getting them into the area that they're good at, right? And I think that's a much bigger, better challenge for an instructor. Don't just work with the people who are good at it. Work with the people who've never seen it before. Work with the people who don't know if they're good at it, and try to encourage them. Now, that's a huge success. If you can help people get on the path who never intended and who aren't really naturally good at it, right?
Really good insights, seriously. But you now explained what others should do, right?
Uh-huh.
You can maybe share how your day looks like now when you are indoors. You have your online classes, but let's take one day, for example. What do you do during the day?
Well, let's see. During this COVID time, well, I've been doing a lot of taxes. No, I also, I've been down here at the studio. It's been a little challenging with people not being here. And so I put a lot of thought into that. I put a lot of thought into this tournament and developing this experience, which also has an expo attached to it too. So it's actually 2 events. That takes a huge amount of my time. So I have 3 businesses actually. I have my martial arts, so it's called Mudo Taekwondo. That's what that is. And then I have the Oregon State Hamadong, and then I have the Core Star, which is this building that I rent out to other students or other instructors. So I'm usually working on the tournament, or I'm working on finding instructors for the studio, or I'm planning and teaching my classes. Outside of that, I'm sleeping, eating, or taking care of my rescue cat,
Oh,
which
you
I
have
have
a cat.
upstairs.
Sounds good. But we have been speaking quite a lot now. Do you have anything special that you would like to share before you need to run to your class?
Well, I guess my special message is kind of what I've already shared. And it's kind of the mission that I'm on as an instructor. My message to other instructors is you need to demonstrate the power of your art form in your own life. You can't just stand there and tell other people to do things and then live an unactualized life in the art form that you're teaching. And it's something usually young instructors have to go through because life is scary, life is hard. And when you commit to being an instructor, you commit, it's a huge commitment. You know, I mean, you're taking on one of the hardest paths that a person can take on, facing the trials of the body and all of everything that comes with that on a daily basis for your whole life. And that's something that's most easiest for people to not do and to ignore, especially in a world that's constantly searching for comfort, right? My message to instructors is the only way you're going to find comfort is by working hard in the daytime. And then you will be comfortable at night, right? You don't need the comfy pillow. You don't need the comfy blankets. You don't need the big comfy bed. If you do a good job teaching and leading in your art during the day, then you could sleep on a wooden plank with a rock as a pillow at night and you'll be fine. Okay? Instructors, live what you teach. Get into it. Let yourself be the example that you're trying to show. And don't be too serious about it, but do it. You know, don't try to be pedantic or pontificating or acting like you know everything all the time. You are experiencing your art form at the same time with your people that you're teaching, and you're all together at once doing it together. The only difference as an instructor is I've just been doing it longer, right? This is the special message I have for instructors. It doesn't matter what your sign looks like. It doesn't matter what it matters what your building looks like, and it needs to be clean and it needs to be professional. But most importantly, if you could be clean and professional, but if you're not living your truth, nobody's going to take class from you, right? You have to get into the deeper meaning and the transformative value and power of the art form that you're teaching. And you have to show its impact in your own life. If you're living a very protected life and you don't need what you're teaching, people are going to know that. You need to get out and experience, and you need to have to depend on your art in order to move forward in life. I highly recommend digging deeper. To students, it's one of I want to give credit where credit's due. It's easy for an instructor to show up for class. Okay, we have to be there. Matter of fact, that's why we do that. We put ourselves in the position that we have to be there so that there is no chance that we can miss, right? So we put our back against the river and we force ourselves to be there, rain or shine, If you're sick or not, if you have COVID, just stay home. But we're there. A student, they have a choice to come or not. The ones who make it, the ones who can on their own decide and commit and make that commitment and show up for class, even though they don't have to, it is amazingly respectful, amazingly honorable that they do that. And it has a profound impact on their lives. My advice to them is, to students, you don't have to perform at 100% all the time. All you have to do is make the effort to get there. And if you just want to sit and breathe the whole time, then do that. If you feel like doing a couple things, maybe just drinking water and breathing, just do that. But if you can make it there, you've done 90% of the hard work. The rest of it's icing on the cake, right? Etch out the time, block out the time for personal improvement, and then follow up on that. And then at the night, when you go to bed, remember it. In the morning, remind yourself of it. And then, especially on the days you don't want to go. Be there, sit and breathe, give yourself a break. You don't have to push yourself all the time. What you're doing is cultivating a natural ability to continually set little goals and make little improvements. It doesn't have to be huge ones, a little bit every day. But that trend, that direction, has a massive effect on a person's life, right? So I have the highest respect for students who make it to class, and I want them to know that. And it's profound, and there's a lot of glory in that. And I want to send my thanks and appreciation to them for that. Keep up the good work. And if you want to look into instructing a little bit and getting into that realm, I say do it, because that's a way to really commit and solidify your practice in your life. And it's especially on those days that you just can't make it, but you have to go. There's so many lessons in that moment, and to make the priority to go ahead and do that. Okay. And what people are going to find is when they feel good, when they have an element like this in their life, all of a sudden it doesn't become so important to have a lot of money and to play the game the rest of the world's playing. You live simply, you live peacefully, you're healthy, you've got good people, you're doing good work, your heart feels good, and then, you know, you have what you need, right? So there's some tidbits for you, some suggestions.
Really good ones. Thank you. And now the final moment. When or where can people join your classes? Because you're doing them online. Now everybody can do it, even from
Yes.
And if somebody has a question and the person is rewatching this video, where can that person reach you?
Okay, so my Facebook page is best. So I live stream my yoga classes on my Facebook page, so it's really easy to find. And the page is Tim Greathouse. And I don't know if you can spell the name for everyone, or we put it up there somehow so they can spell it, but it's just like it sounds, Greathouse, Greathouse. Please come and join me for class, 10 o'clock Tuesday, Thursday mornings, 11 o'clock on Saturday mornings. And they'll find a different experience. It's going to be more, it's a lot more, secular, breathing, stretching, real, and Western style of breathing and stretch for yoga, but still so dependent upon the patterns of yoga, you know. So come check it out. And once they connect to my Facebook page, then they can see other things that we're doing. So
Super. I will for sure add this link to the Facebook event. And this video also stays up, and I will add it to the YouTube. So I'm super grateful that you took the time and you shared a bit of your life. It was a short talk, but still got some new tips and ideas. And I'm sure that everybody who listened really loved that as well.
awesome. Well, my message, keep breathing, everyone. Breathe, breathe, breathe. It's the start of everything, right? It's the first thing you do when you come into life. It's the last thing you do when you leave. And our job between now and between the beginning and the end is to get really good at it. It's the center of everything. So I'm about to go practice breathing. I hope you guys are too. So.
Super. I hope people will join. I will for sure check it out.
Excellent.
And I hope we will meet again through video or maybe even in real life someday. Who knows?
Okay, great. Well, I'm going to be starting a podcast as well, so I may contact you to be on my show.
That sounds awesome.
Okay.
All right. Thanks and have a good day.
Yeah, thank you. I'll talk to you soon.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.